So there's a great topic that I'm really stoked about, which is the next topic, which is what metrics product marketing should measure. So I talk to product marketers every single week for various reasons. And this is like a key challenge. Often a lot of product marketers themselves don't know like what metrics they should be owning. Like on demand gen side, it's easy, right? Like you drive pipeline and there's revenue and all that stuff. What is product marketing like? Sales used our enablement documentation, or or the marketing team actually followed our messaging playbook. That seems like too soft and weak. And until product marketing starts measuring meaningful business impact stuff, it's hard to get a seat at the grown-up table. Or what do you think, Claire? Claire, you're around. Please join me on the stage here. Let's talk about this.
Hi, how are you?
We're kicking ass over here.
Awesome, as we always should
Yeah.
be.
We were just discussing what is the metric that product marketing should own, a business metric.
Ah,
Yeah.
some
So,
ideas.
I have lots of questions, but let's first see what you have prepared for us, and then I'll come back and we'll have a back and forth here. All right.
Great.
So, yeah, share your screen with your deck if you have one, and you're good to go.
All right. See if I can get my shit together here. All right. So first of all, I'm Claire Gould. I'm a product marketer. I feel like anytime you get a group of product marketers together, it's sort of like you should be saying, "Hi, Claire," like you're an addict or something. I've been doing product marketing for over a decade. I started in this wonderful world of, just straight product marketing for companies that really cared about customer experience design. In a company that was acquired by Oracle called Right Now Technologies. Absolutely loved it. But I've worked for companies from Microsoft to HighSpot to Plesk, Socrata, small, medium, large. And I'm now at a company called Trees, running our product marketing and marketing teams here. I usually try and make some joke about how product marketing is just being a task provider, talking as a service, and that's kind of what we do. But I want to talk a little bit more nitty gritty about what it means to set goals, what the goals are, how you get executive buy-in, and what that looks like across an organization. So with product marketing, first of all, it's always interesting to kind of look at how things have shifted and changed. 10 years ago, we weren't really measuring as much as we are, or weren't able to really measure as much as we are today on product marketing. So I want to talk about kind of the different types of goals. I like to bucket the types of goals and metrics into different, kind of ideas. I want to talk about tips and tools for each of those different buckets, some of my favorite tools that I've used along the way, and then how you can get them down into some sort of goal methodology. I'm going to talk about specifically the OKR methodology, and making sure that you have actionable metrics and all of that. And then, of course, we'll have the Q&A at the end. Now, I'm sure everyone has heard kind of the whole SMART mentality, having something that is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So the idea is like a great goal is well-defined and very focused, right? The best companies are incredibly focused on how they look at their future. So the idea of getting more business or increasing revenue, even if that is increasing revenue by X, it's not really that well defined, and it certainly isn't focused. So the idea of saying we're going to obtain 3 new enterprise clients in the insurance industry is far more meaningful and something that you can really mobilize your team around and get the company focused on achieving that goal. I feel the same way about participation trophies as I do about goals that don't have measurement attached to them. They're great. They make people feel good that there's something, but not really measuring the goal. It gives you, this lack of a rally cry for the company. There is nothing, especially in those small startups, there's nothing better than watching a dashboard or, a lollipop style, thermometer style thing on the wall just kind of tick up with each customer acquisition, right? And we can keep that momentum even at companies that are Microsoft style, large. So lofty goals are great, but making them relevant to your business, making them attainable, making sure that you have a time metric around them, I think is far more important. And of course, making sure that they're relevant to your business, to your market, to your industry, and to your economic situation. So given that we are hopefully towards the tail end of a pandemic, but still in a pandemic nonetheless, the idea of like setting we're going to open an office this year goal right now is both pretty irrelevant and hard to attain. So maybe thinking about that as a goal for the future, but not something you want to set today. And then finally, you've got to give yourself a window of time. If that is a goal that your company has, you're probably never going to complete it in the time frame that you want to set aside. So whether it's a weekly goal, a monthly goal, quarterly, a specific date in time. Often when we're in product marketing, we're talking about launches. Setting specific time frames around releases and launches really gives everybody a little bit of incentive to move forward. So types of goals. So these are my general product marketing goal buckets. Product goals, I'm bucketing the product launch stuff in that. Revenue or customer goals, acquisition goals, campaign goals, because as product marketers, we are still very much marketers. And then kind of this other sales goal bucket, which we'll talk about for sure. But I want to start on the bare bones kind of goal styles and things around product. So product goals can be from here to there. They can be about a launch. They can be about adoption of a feature. It can be about building an MVP. It could be something to do with starting a beta program. It doesn't have to be just a percentage of this, a number of these. The goals in this can be more focused and help focus your product team, right? Helping to run a beta program, getting something in launch, getting 5 customers into a beta program for a new feature is a great goal to start with. So they can be big, they can expand quarters like launching a new product, or they can be metrics that we're looking at every single day. Sometimes if you're like me, you're pathologically refreshing to see your number of daily active users. I love, looking at those numbers that you do see tick up. Product goals are sometimes always, and if you're in a smaller startup as well, these are the first types of goals that a company starts looking at, right? Oh, we're building our MVP. Oh, we just passed 10,000 users. Oh, we just made our first beta program. So they're really, really impactful. And again, goals being that rally cry for a company and certainly for a product marketing team. And these are the kinds of goals that are gonna help you figure out and measure product market fit later on. Product goals can also help to be attributable to revenue, which is, we'll talk about in a little bit. It's kind of the holy grail of product marketing. You want to be able to say the work that you did attributed to the revenue goal of the company. So for instance, here at Trees, one of our revenue streams comes from our ability to offer a payment solution to our retailers. This means that every time we, sell something to our customer and they sell to this, so we're a B2B2C, and they sell, something to their consumer, we see a little tick up and a little adoption number, and we actually create revenue off of that. So this is an incredibly important metric, but it doesn't mean anything unless we're getting customers to not only upsell into that product, but actually adopt and use it and help their users adopt and use our e-commerce and payment solution features. So we have to go from looking just at the, oh good, we upsold into a new customer, tick 1, that should help revenue and it'll help on a monthly subscription base, but we want to see the other revenue stream, which is more about product adoption. So product can actually help, product goals and metrics can help be attributable to revenue goals. Now, from a tools standpoint, there's a couple of things, within this that I think are very important. Number one, tooling on product adoption isn't owned usually by product marketing, but in every company that I've been in recently, we have been a part of the process, or maybe a part of the ideation of adding some sort of product adoption measurement tool. I'm a big fan of the Pendos of the world. WalkMe is another great one that helps, again, not only help measure product adoption and some of these features. On the other side, it's going to help you talk to your customers too. And so there's another part of this later on when we talk about some customer metrics that these tools can also help with. So if you're not currently, if your product team doesn't have something embedded in a product adoption, start looking at the Pendos of the world. Go and do a Google search. Figure out what works for your organization. It could be a heap, a mix panel, something smaller like app queues. Figure out where your business is, and help your product team sort of see how they can help you, help them help you, so to speak. On product launch, I am a big fan of just using straight spreadsheets to help a product launch go well. I have used multiple product management tools, the AHAs, but nobody rallies around anything quite as much as they do a Google slide with a spreadsheet on it. How I like to run product launches, and have been doing this since I started, is around this kind of weekly, as you lead up into a product launch, what is your status, right? So this is a goal that is around, you have a big goal to hit your launch date. You have your features within that launch that you're trying to hit. And then you've got these smaller measurements of, are the pieces of a work stream actually getting done? I'm a big fan of the green, amber, red mentality. So are you on track? Are you at risk? Or is this completely blocked and you need us to help you with something? Product launch done on a very tactical level, where each one of those deliverables is considered a metric of success. And when something isn't happening, you know that your launch is at risk, which helps you make sure that you meet your original goal of setting that launch date and meeting that. So on this one, from a tools and tricks standpoint, it's all about being very, very tactical. This is the part of product marketing that is almost more program management than product marketing in some ways. It's the cat herder mentality of our job. So in the idea of where we see, revenue, again, this is where it gets into like acronym soup. You've got MRR, ARR, CAC, ARPU, TAM, EBITDA. There's so many different things that can hit in revenue. But I think the ones that really make a bigger difference from a product marketing perspective is certainly either your monthly recurring revenue or your annual recurring revenue. How to measure that, and how you measure whether marketing or product marketing actually hit on that, I'll talk to in a bit. But it's really something, personally, I literally just said this week, I would love to have my bonus numbers measured on how much revenue that we are contributing to our company, versus some arbitrary thing where somebody can say, you didn't meet this, you didn't do that. I want it actually attributable to a number, because I want to be able to measure that. And so how do you do that? How do you determine whether, and it's going to be a constant sort of take and give, depending on how your marketing team is structured and how your product marketing team lives within that form and function. So if your product marketing team is laddered under marketing, it's a little easier because everyone feels like it's a team by team, you win, we win basis. It's not your blog post versus our piece of sales enablement collateral, or our demo script was really the key differentiator here. When product marketing is a little separate from marketing, sometimes you have to make sure that you're able to measure, and there are tools to do that. Again, other metrics that I think are important here are around lifetime value. How much are you actually getting out of each customer? How much is your average contract value? And that's one that I think is very differentiated from being a being a product marketing versus a marketing metric. A marketing team is going to have a harder time saying that they had anything to do with upping a contract value. In product marketing, that is going to be all about the content that we build, all about the demo scripting, all about making sure that you're getting the most out of every single customer and helping your sales team up that value. Cross-sell and upsell, of course, rates there. Churn rates is another one that I think product marketing really can help with. Being a part or starting a churn task force and monitoring your churn rates is one of the smartest things that a product marketer can do. So often, product marketing gets really embedded in the sales side, incredibly embedded with product, but kind of forgets customer success. And I think it's very important to make sure that we are looking at and monitoring that side as well. So suggesting starting a churn task force in your company, especially if you're seeing those numbers start to rise. Again, with tools here, there are plenty, but there are a couple that I think can help. Obviously, you have the ability to connect wherever your content is coming from into your CRM. If you make sure as you're building out your tooling in smaller companies that your things connect together as much as possible, don't take, okay, we're using salesforce.com over here, and we're going to go use this tool that doesn't really connect for marketing, as a marketing automation tool, but they don't connect back and forth, or there isn't a content repository that we can live with to understand what's being used. You're going to miss a lot of the ability to gather your revenue numbers and know what was attributable to. We'll get in a little bit in a minute here into some of the sales enablement tools that are out there, because I think those have gone from just being a sales enablement tool to being really a measurement and metrics tool for product marketing. So customer acquisition, this one is, again, something that I think product marketing has really left to the side quite a bit in the past, but has come to its own to really understand that making sure that our customer acquisition costs, we're as responsible for this as marketing, as corporate marketing is, for sure. But we are also really the people who engage customers and make sure that they are happy, healthy, and wealthy, right? We want to make sure that they have the highest NPS score that we can possibly get them. And just a tiny aside on whether you should be looking at NPS or CSAT, NPS is going to give you, I think, a more accurate picture of whether your customer is willing to become an advocate, which, whether you have a customer marketing team or an advocacy team or not, does still kind of loop into everything that product marketing does. You want to have those case studies. You want to be able to have those testimonials. You want to be able to call on customers to go and talk on your behalf and to reference and referral for you. And I think NPS, at the most part, gives a better likelihood of understanding which customers are going to do that for you. Customer engagement. This is a little different than product engagement. This is where you can work with the marketing side, with corporate marketing, to understand, are your customers actually engaging with you outside? Are certain customers coming to events? Are they, being a part of your sphere of influence in general? Which I think, again, is something that product marketing usually leaves to marketing, but really we're the ones that help bring people into the right situation. In that, you can also think about other things that you can do to help measure customer engagement or to get customers more engaged is creating a CAB, a customer advisory board. If you have the opportunity, get your customers that you want to have more of. And I say that very strategically because so often in customer advisory boards, or the customers we talk to the most frequently or influence what the product roadmap is or where we're going as a company, are sometimes the loudest customers, or maybe the biggest customers, the ones that give us the highest monthly or annual revenue. But you want to look at your customer base and say, who is the customer that we want to actually have more of? What is that ideal customer profile look like? Let's invite them into the inner circle so that we can understand and use that to push out. And getting those customers more engaged, making them feel like they are your highest priority, often will lead them to be advocates and increase your customer engagement overall. And of course, there's market share as just sort of a general, you want to understand where you are. In our company, we love seeing our market share go up. It is a big metric of success for us because it's a pretty finite number. We work with cannabis retailers, and so each state has a certain number of licenses that go up, that get given out. So we can track this number really, really well. And so when we hit 40% in the state of California, big celebration, big party, big happy. When we hit 20% in Michigan, again, we're making sure that we're doing that. And that's another part of what I think product marketing's full job really can be, is it's not just measuring success, it's not just proving our worth, it's helping the company rally, get excited, and feel like we're making headway. And again, especially, maybe not especially in the smaller companies. I think it's very important in smaller companies, but I think sometimes celebration gets lost in bigger companies. We celebrate holidays and we celebrate the excitement around certain things, but we stop celebrating big milestones that aren't just massive milestones. And so sometimes those market share milestones, those product adoption number milestones, things like that are very important, again, on that rallying cry. So some tools here, thinking about it from a customer love standpoint, there's a bunch of tools that you can use that are around survey, from using Google Forms if you don't have the budget or the ability to do anything different at the moment. Ask Nicely is a great tool. There's plenty of SurveyMonkey tools, and they've got some really great tools that will help you actually with case study gathering. Because if you're going out and surveying your customers to understand their needs and wants from you, oftentimes you're going to get, if you give them a bold form, you're going to get more information than you could possibly want, and you're going to understand who are those customers who are willing to talk to you again and talk to you deeper. And so ask for it, right? Ask for I want to know the number of stars you want to give me. And maybe you want to use that as a way to also talk to customers who aren't as happy, or to queue in your CS team on customers that aren't as happy. There's some great tools if you build an app. Apptentive is a fantastic tool that will help you measure across applications, mobile apps and things like that, versus just web apps and having a more embedded platform product. I'm going to briefly touch over campaign. Obviously, web visitors, content engagement, and the typical, MQLs, and making sure that we're measuring the marketing things that we're doing as well, are all super duper duper important, of course. These tools and tricks have all been in place for years, and we can all talk about them. But I want to kind of focus a little bit more on this idea of other sales goals. So I think when I was coming in, I heard you guys chatting, and I heard win rates. I'm a big fan of looking at win rates overall and looking at win rates from a competitive standpoint. So win, lose, or draw, right? And when I say draw, I mean they didn't choose anybody. They didn't choose a competitor. They didn't choose us. They decided to just keep doing what they were doing, even if what they were doing was nothing. And those are sometimes the most telling prospects you have, because you can figure out what in your market message is not resonating, or whether it's a sales, team issue, whether it's a, big product deficit, you can find out more from the draws sometimes than you can from any other metric. And sometimes even, again, if they've looked at you and a competitor in that process, you're going to find out a lot. Making sure that you're looking at competitive rates and then doing something about it. That goes with, kind of the sales confidence issue in there as well. Sometimes it's just the sales team doesn't know how to sell this certain product. So if you've got a product line with a lot of different things in it, for us, maybe it's our sell trees pay, right? Maybe they don't know how to go out and have that upsell conversation. So we need to do a better job of training. I'm going to go out and survey and talk to my sales team and find out their level of confidence on the different pieces of the puzzle that we're giving them. Sales feedback metrics. I'm going to talk a little bit about this concept. So much of what we do is this soft skill, and making sure that you are engaged and talking to your sales team is so, so important, because they're the ones that are going to come to you, and you're going to know what they feel when they do. Here, there's a ton of tools. Like in this, measuring the relationship between sales and how things work is so, so important. Number one, even if you don't own sales enablement, even if sales enablement as a concept or as a function in your business is somewhere else outside of product marketing, we all know in this circle, we are still sales enablement people. This is a part of the function of product marketing. It doesn't go away just because somebody else has the title. We are creating the content. We're creating a lot of the pieces in the puzzle and the training and the coaching around everything that lives underneath it. So good sales enablement tools, not just because I worked there. I was a huge HighSpot fan before I ever worked at the company, but I'm a big fan of what they're trying to do, which is not just offer a content repository and a place for sales enablement, but they are building in tools that allow you to measure what is being used, not just by your sales team, but by customers in general. So you can see when something gets opened, what gets used, how it gets used, and whether it's working and whether it actually helps to close the deal. This is one of the biggest things. There's HighSpot, there's Seismic, there's a bunch of different tools that you can use. If you can spend the budget on a sales enablement platform, absolutely go out and do it. They're incredibly important for a product marketer for measurement. Competitive intel tools. Big fan of the company. Closed, they're going to help you kind of understand those rates. Crayon is another great one. It's so incredibly inexpensive. They go and scour the internet for you and find all of these different things about your competitors, keep track of things so that your Google alert doesn't have to keep going off every time something happens. You have one platform. There's a bunch of different ones. Crayon is just kind of the cheapest, best one that I like. And part of the reason I like it is they give you a dedicated resource on staff that's like, I always call it my 1/8 of a product marketing headcount that I get, where they're going to do some of the analysis for you. So again, these are my two big tools that anytime I come into a new organization, I'm building up product marketing, sales enablement tool and competitive intel are my two biggest asks. Going to run through this real quick. Just goal methodologies. I might not even get deeper into the OKR side on this. I just wanted to say, find a process and a tool that works. If you don't have a company process, set one up. Start with a small set of tools, and you might find that what ends up happening is the company rallies behind, especially if your company has strategic initiatives already. Line your goals up. Get all of the other teams behind your process and get your executive team behind what you're measuring. If you have their buy-in, it helps build a moat around what you're doing, and you always want to fill your moat with alligators, which are actually meeting your goals, right? Make sure that you can hone your time, because as a product marketer, your time is your number one thing. Just going to run again through this super quickly. An OKR looks like a company goal, then your kind of goals and your measurements alongside of it. So it's objectives and key results. You're going to have an owner. You're going to kind of line everything back up to whatever this big team objective is, and back up to that company objective. Excuse me, and then really just kind of hone in even one level deeper to say, here's the objective, the purpose, and the key results, and who's responsible for them. How often are we doing them? You can see these have year over year, quarterly, monthly. Add a stretch goal in there. This is actually a real OKR from a company in my past life. But really think about, how you look at your team development through this lens as well. And so, one final note, when kind of going back to the sales team success, like the best way that I found this is finding out do your sales team members actually come to you for help? Are they attending the sessions that you're running if you're doing training, or do they come to your team for support? Is your team the name that pops up when they're busy giving high fives and they're closing the deal and they're calling out the amazing things that your team is doing to help land the next whale or the next big customer? And the sneaky thing about, a lot of the measurement metrics that we do as product marketers, it's soft skill. Not everything we do is creating content. Not everything we do is, creating a website and building messaging and positioning frameworks. So much of it is this behind the scenes relationship building, puppeteering, and analyzing deals to help close more deals, to move companies forward, and to keep you guys into this like wonderful sweet spot of product market fit, right? So much of that cannot be quantified, cannot be looked at. So the last thing that I will say is, like, whether you're a team leader, an individual contributor, like, don't forget that we are still a long way to be measuring the fine art of cat herding. So make sure that you celebrate the wins when they happen, where they happen. Thank you.
Boom. Well, that was fire. That was amazing. My God, we should have a day-long conference around you.
I love that.
Here, dropping truth bombs, herding cats as a metric. Amazing stuff. All right, so quick follow-up question on multiple things you said. Okay, so owning metrics, like revenue metrics or churn metrics. So, well, how exactly do we then attribute a portion of the revenue to product marketing? Because like there are people driving pay-per-click traffic and writing content marketers are writing articles, and CEOs are giving presentations, and word of mouth and all these things are happening. So how do we isolate the product marketing impact here?
Yeah, and I think that's where some of the tooling can come into place. So with a sales enablement tool or any type of content repository, even if you're using Salesforce, Salesforce has a content repository that your sales team can pull directly from that will tell you when your content is being used. So every time they send it off, you get to see it's being used. You were a part of that process. When you then look at whether or not where that content is being used, you can map. And sometimes, especially when you're starting out, if you don't have a full-fledged sales enablement platform in place, it might be a pretty manual process, but it will be very rewarding to map out, okay, this piece of content was used in 17 closed deals this quarter. That's 25% of our closed deals. This piece was used in 30% of deals, but none of them closed. Right? You can kind of do that one-to-one mapping when you start looking at your metrics. Even Confluence, which is a product marketer's pain in our asses, worst tool ever, you can get measurement to understand what's being downloaded and used on the back end. It's hard, it's difficult, but you can do it. You can also survey your sales team. Find out what they think is working. Those less qualitative metrics do kind of work sometimes for us.
I'm still unclear then. Okay, product marketing stuff was used. So is it like, do we get credit for 10% of the deal? 7%?
So that's the conversation you have to have with your executive team. I usually don't I've never been able to. And if somebody figures out how to do this, I would love to be actually compensated based on the revenue number. It's more if we help increase revenue or we meet our revenue goal and we're doing it by, our content is doing X% good, that's how I'm measuring. I'm not getting, I wish I were getting a spiff every time a deal closed. Haven't been able to get that one through. Might try it at my company right now because I think they might be interested in that. But it's usually as long as our content is being used at a certain rate to close deals, that's what we're measuring versus we're getting a spiff 5%, 10%. I would love commish.
Yes. There are people in the questions asking for the tools you mentioned, so maybe you can write them in the chat before you hop off to do other things. But we're out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the guys were saying if they want to see whatever slide again, there will be a recording of this talk, so you can catch it later. Thank you so much, Claire.
Thank you.